one of my constituents, Mr. Mulwa Mutilangi, Senior Director, Innovations at Pepsi International, USA, died under very mysterious circumstances. And my statement follows dissatisfaction to myself and the family in the manner in which this particular case has been handled by the DCI. Because I know maybe some of you may not be privy to the details, you will allow me to go through some details that may seem maybe a bit obvious to a few of you, but maybe not to the rest. But as I read my small statement, I would want to request you to take keen interest on a few persons of interest in this statement that I'm going to read. And one person is a fellow by the name Mr. Bakari, and the other one is Mr. Gidinji. The other one is Kahudhu Advocates, and the fourth one is an impersonator by the name Mary Mutilangi, and the fifth one is a DCI. All these particular 5 persons of interest have something to do with this particular matter. On the 26th October 2023, Eddie Mutilangi, who is a brother to the deceased billionaire, Mr. Mulwa Mutilangi, received a call from a person by the name Ndambuki. Ndambuki informed him that his brother Mulwa Mutilangi, based in the USA, was dead. Ndambuki alleged that he had received that information from one Peter Gidinji. He reported that the deceased body was lying at Yoka Funeral Home in New York. It was reported that Mulwa died while hospitalized at Hudson Valley Hospital. It is also alleged that he died on the 16th October 2023. But when Eddie called this particular Gidinji back, Gidinji declined to give any useful information, citing that he had instructions from his lawyer not to divulge any information. On 27th October 2023, Eddie reported the case to the Director Diaspora in Nairobi. Initially, he was promised that in 3 days, the matter would be handled, but unfortunately, up to date, nothing useful has been done. Eddie, through his friend in the USA, Kisia, managed to establish that the deceased body was lying at Yorktown Funeral Home in New Jersey, contrary to the earlier information. He identified the body positively, and the funeral home indicated that the body that nobody had claimed the body. On 7th of November 2023, through his friend, Eddie gave instructions that the body should be preserved and kept intact until further notice. The funeral home reported that there was a lady by the name Mary Mutilangi who claimed to be sister to the deceased, who took personal effects, car keys, house keys, passports, phones, etc. of the deceased. Then on 13th November, Eddie was informed by the funeral home that the deceased body was cremated. He established that it is Peter Gidinji who gave instructions, alleging that he was acting on power of attorney granted to him by alleged son, Bakari. The power of attorney was drafted by Kahudhu Advocates in Nairobi. On 18th November 2023, the case was reported to FBI, but they advised that the matter should be reported to a local police station in New Jersey. On 17th November 2023, the Kenyan embassy wrote to Eddie Mutilangi informing him of the cremation of the body, and they had launched investigations into the matter. So Eddie has talked to the HR department, where Mutilangi was working, that is Pepsi, and he gathered that Bakari and Githinji and blocked any form of inquiry in regard to estate and benefits of the late Mulwa Mutilangi. They however promised that they would remain silent until the court determines and makes decision on the way forward. So on 24th, where now problems start, 24th November 2023, Eddie reported the matter to Kenya's DCI. The investigative officer, Kimilu, called Bakari, who was at Umoja Estate, instructing him to report at the DCI offices. Bakari declined and instead referred the DCI to his lawyer, Kahudhu Advocates. I must update you that on 31st November 2023, through Eddie's lawyer, Mr. Mutemu, there has been a number of developments where the family has gotten the custody of the death certificate, and they've also in possession of the power of attorney that was used to take for the cremation. It is worth noting that Eddie's power of attorney, the lawyer has given instructions to the funeral home to preserve the deceased ashes until further notice. So we have particular issues of interest. We have Bakari, a person who alleged to be Mulwa Mutilangi's son, who has been, the family reported since last year, and only recently, the other day, it's just about a week, until there was intervention from the Interpol, that this Bakari was arrested. Now, after the arrest of Bakari, it turns out that Bakari says he's no longer a son to Mutilangi. Now, a lawyer, Kahudhu, gave power of attorney to a person who is not even a son, and the family is here in Kenya very much alive. There is a person of interest who is the DCI handling this particular case, Mr. Kimilu, who arrested the said advocate and released this advocate through a cash bail without having this person taken to court. It is also of interest that we have discovered that the lawyer, Kahudhu, is actually a cousin to Githinji. So we have a situation where a son, a person who is not a son, claims somebody gets to a lawyer who is also a friend of theirs through a Githinji, who is not related to the family at all. And these three people come together, do a cremation of a body, and the DCI has remained largely silent about this particular matter. This particular Githinji, again, it took the effort of, like I said, the Interpol to request the arrest of Bakari and the Kahudhu advocates. Yet our very, very own DCI has not taken initiative to know the whereabouts of this Peter Githinji. And therefore we have these few issues of interest. One, Mr. Bakari, who obtained power of attorney to cremate late Mulwa Mutilangi, claiming to be Mutilangi's son, and now since confessed not being Mutilangi's son. Two, Mr. Githinji, who is not related in any way to Mutilangi, paid from his own pocket for cremation without any post-mortem of the late billionaire Mulwa Mutilangi. Kahudhu advocates issued power of attorney to Mr. Bakari, who is not in any way related to Mutilangi, when Mutilangi has brothers and sisters here in the country. The DCI officer, Mr. Kimilu, who is investigating this particular matter, has been frustrating the family. And in one particular day, they complained that actually the matter, as a member of parliament, had been informed of this particular issue. The DCI officer, Kimilu, assisted the release of Kahudhu advocates immediately after arrest last Wednesday drew a police cash bail instead of having him arraigned in court. Had promised that they would take him to court on Friday, which never happened, and since then not been even picking calls from the family. It turns out that Kaudhu advocate's lawyer is cousin to Githinji. It took the DCI months to arrest Bakari after the family reported this particular case, after the intervention by the Interpol. Number 8, with the glaring evidence that shows a motive for murder, the DCI has preferred very weak charges against Bakari. I know some of you have even gone to court. You've listened to the charges that have been preferred against this fella. It's clearly that the DCI wants to destroy this particular case. And no action has been taken on Mr. Githinji yet, the stranger who oversaw the cremation of Mulwa Mutilangi. And therefore, we strongly believe that Mulwa Mutilangi was murdered by people who were after his property worth billions. And Mr. Bakari, Mr. Githinji, and Kaudhu advocate played a major role in the murder. And the DCI, starting with the investigative officer, Mr. Kimilu, has been compromised to cover up this particular murder. I therefore, on behalf of Mutilangi's family, demand a different DCI officer be immediately assigned to deal with Mutilangi's case in place of one Mr. Kimilu. Number 2, an investigation be conducted on the DCI officer, Kimilu, on the role he has been playing to potentially conceal crime for personal gains. 3, demand a thorough investigation on this particular matter be conducted and all culprits brought to book. Number 4, I request the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to urgently facilitate one Mr. Andy Mutilangi, brother to Mulwa Mutilangi, to be facilitated to obtain visa to travel to the USA and retrieve the ashes of their late brother so that they can give him a decent burial in line with Kamba traditions. You must know it is one thing to lose a person. It is another thing not to be able to even give a decent burial to your person, because this person was burned to ashes by strangers, and instead of the DCI trying to assist the family, they are obviously taking bribes to try to cover up this. Even a class 1 pupil can see a motive here. These people have been preying on this particular guy who has no family in the US because he was not married. And we have had cases of laxity. We saw the other day people moving from a police station, they catch a bus and they just go. There has been repeated cases of negligence. Some intentional, others not intentional. Such cases are clearly corruption issues where people are facilitated to run away with the crimes they have committed. And therefore, I once again strongly believe there is no iota of doubt that this particular person was murdered. On the day this particular person was, if indeed Bakari had been a son to Mutilangi, obviously the first thing would be worried is to start crying about their father, inform the family. But on the first day, Bakari was already had already taken over some of the estates, the houses at Green Park. The guy was already sleeping there. And therefore, clearly there is a motive. And what we feel as a constituency is that the DCI has not been cooperative enough. They have been trying to assist these people to run away with this particular crime. We demand justice for Mulwa Mutilangi. This was not just an ordinary person. And even if it was an ordinary person, the family would still demand justice. The DCI must thoroughly investigate some of their very own who are involved. And since, again, this matter touches on the same DCI who are supposed to investigate the matter, again, they will also be seeking a statement through Parliament so that they can appear before the committee on in the committee interior, so that they can also be able to give account of the omissions that they have been doing on this particular case.